Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. A lot of you guys have been requesting that I do a video on a lot of your concerns about what's going on. A lot of people have concerns about things becoming very performative, like motherfuckers is kneeling down in like kente cloth, Kwanzaa, choir stoles, and a lot of sort of performative symbolic actions are being made, and a lot of you guys wanted to know how I feel about it. I want to start by saying, as always, there are going to be links and related videos in the description box. I do have a couple videos on sort of performative allyship, I don't know what you would call that, or rebranding, and corporations sort of like co-opting protest language and all types of things. So those will be in the description box for those of you that want to check those videos out. But I mean, I feel like there's no need for senators to be doing, fucking superhero poses and like kente cloth. I don't know who fucking greenlit that shit, who thought that was going to be a good idea. Like, pass reparations if you want to do something. Like, don't be kneeling down. Like, open your purse. Give niggas 40 acres and a mule at least, something. I don't know. When I saw that, I was like, I don't give a fuck about you kneeling in no damn stole. Like, they really thought that shit was gonna hit. Like, just like when Hillary Clinton was like doing the nay and shit. Like, they probably really thought, like, you could tell from like all those pictures of them like kneeling and like superhero in the mask. Like, they really thought they was doing something. Like, they thought those images were gonna hit, and niggas was gonna be like, oh my god, Nancy Pelosi, like, she's so woke, you guys know I hate the phrase woke. So it's just, people are just doing a bunch of talk and a bunch of nothing, like, really, again, like performative symbolic gestures. I feel like maybe the symbolic gestures would have got us in the past. We might have thought this shit was cool, but not in 2020. And that's not to say that, like, all, like, the symbolism of a lot of things. Now, the senators and shit kneeling was just stupid, but the symbolism, and low-key offensive, sort of, like, very stereotypical, like you're using stereotypical cultural signifiers, kente cloth stoles and shit, to, like, it was a performative gesture, like, and the whole thing was, like, planned from top to finish to try to, like, big them up, whatever. Some of the symbolic gestures, though, have, like, the symbolism has not been lost on me, like, the Black Lives Matter street that they did in D.C. It's nice to see the pictures of it, but, like, Muriel Bowser is a hoe. Like, her hoe ass painted a street, like, she don't even like black people. Like, she's black, but she's, like, a coon. It's, like, a fucking conundrum. Like, her policy is actively harmful to Black Americans and to Native Washingtonians, like, actively harmful policy. They recently just fucking changed, like, the speed limit in DC, like, local streets, the speed limit is going to be 20 miles per hour. You know how slow that is? Like, the traffic in DC is already a fucking nightmare, and DC makes so much money from, like, traffic tickets and, like, red light cameras and, like, red light districts and shit like that. Like, all this is gonna do is to, like, increase fucking fines and taxes and penalties and tickets, and all that shit is, like, tied to gentrification and, like, driving black people out and making it, like, harder for us to live there and drive there, and the surveillance of DC, these cameras everywhere, like, the militarization, like, all the shit that's happened since Muriel Bowser has, like, came to office has, like, all contributed to Washington, D.C. becoming, like, the #1 most gentrified city in America, in the United States. And, like, she got the nerve, like, she got the audacity, she got the gall to paint a fucking Black Lives Matter mural because she's in some little vindictive lover spat with Donald Trump. Like, I don't have time. We don't have the time. And that's not to say that, like, the street doesn't look cool. Like, it does look cool. It looks cool to see. But it is a symbolic gesture, period. Meaningless in a lot of ways. And the reason why people painted defund the police next to it is because defunding the police would be a definitive action, right? Not a symbolic gesture. A definitive action versus a symbolic gesture. And there's just a lot of people that are concerned about these symbolic gestures right now, and a lot of people concerned about the co-opting of the movement right now, which I think is a really valid concern. I've had a lot of people hit me up and say that Even though, you know, they're happy that it's a global movement, they're concerned that the fight for Black American rights specifically is going to be lost, you know, in this sort of sentiment of like, it's everybody against racists, you know, like, whoa, like, okay, but, you know, this is also Black Americans that are like specifically trying to get what we're due in the United States. Like, we're not going to drop that aspect of it. Like, yes, institutionalized racism, like, must go, like, okay, across the board. But Black Americans have a very specific debt that is owed. And also just kind of like getting into this, like, POC, racism, you know, that's the umbrella that we talked about before on this channel, several videos. Like, just because you're not a non-Black person of color, just because you're a POC, doesn't mean you can't be an anti-Black racist, doesn't mean you can't perpetuate anti-Black racism, because non-Black persons of color, POC, they absolutely do, you know? So a lot of people are really concerned about the waters just kind of getting muddied right now. A lot of you guys sent me that clip of Trevor Noah talking about reparations on The Daily Show. I did see that, it was a nice clip. I don't know exactly what the backstory of it was, because I saw just the part where he talked about reparations. I haven't watched like the whole episode, but it did sound like it was getting into, you know, the question was raised of like, hasn't everybody suffered, you know, fucking territory? Like, no, like Black Americans like are owed something specific, like very specific. And Trevor Noah got into like the meaning of reparations and what it means. And he's South African. He really broke down why Black Americans specifically should get reparations, which was cool to see. It is still funny to me that, like, a Black American can say we need reparations and people get really upset and offended, but, like, a South African can say it and people are like, well, yeah, maybe we should think about it. You know, it's like, motherfuckers do not like to listen to Black Americans for nothing. I don't know, like, it's a weird thing, but yeah, a lot of shit is definitely getting performative and weird. There's like a hardship and Black struggle genre now on Netflix. That shit pops up like every single time you turn it on, which is weird. I'm just like, open your purse. Like, to everyone, I just want to be like, open your purse. Like, I get it, hardship and like Black struggle, you know, channel to like teach about racism. Okay, like, whatever. Like, there's some good stuff on there. I'm not trying to say that there's not, that it's like bullshit. 13th is on there. There's some really good stuff on there on Netflix. What happened, Miss Simone, about Nina Simone is on there. There's a ton of really, really good stuff on there that you can and should watch. But I just feel like, you know, how about along with that, like, Netflix, how about you release images of your team and you're bored? You know, I've been seeing these memes going around. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been seeing them. You know, the company versus the owner. And I really like those posts. Like, show the faces behind these brands, you know? Like, release images of your team. Let us know if there are any, you know, Black people even behind this fucking struggle and hardship page, you know? Like, make a statement on what you do for the community, or, like, shut the fuck up. Like, everything is starting to feel like it's not an infrastructure change. You know, it's more symbolic. Obviously, it's more performative. And it's just like, we don't want performance. We don't want symbolic gestures. We want infrastructural disruption. That's what we want. And by the way, for anyone looking to get into maybe some Black-owned channels or streaming services, I highly recommend Bounce, which is a Black-owned station that you could pick up. I used to pick it up with, like, a digital antenna, but I believe now you can get it through like your regular cable. I have it. Quelly TV, which is a Black-owned streaming service. Sika TV, there's lots of things out there. I will include links in the description box for people that want to check that kind of thing out. But, you know, yeah, we have this element of performance that's creeping in. It's starting to infiltrate protests. People out here campaigning for acting roles at protests, which we've talked about. Niggas is motherfucking coming cosplaying as Bobby Seale at protests. Ray Fisher made an Instagram post where he said he's basically had higher ups, you know, literally suggest to him to go to a protest to like boost his image. And something I want to say about a protest, okay? Like, here's the thing about a protest. The point of a protest is to show strength as a collective. Like, it's like this many physical bodies are out here taking a stance. It's not about any individual one person. There's literally no reason to be like photographed out front at a protest or to like grab a mic unless you're an organizer. Like, none of that. Like, this is not a game. It's not fucking Coachella. It's not a photo op. It's none of that. So, you know, I feel like the people that are getting concerned about performative aspects of it, you know, it's totally valid. And I feel like what individuals have to do is their work, right? Like, do your work. In the great words of Toni Morrison, that's all you can do. I'm just at the point where I'm continuing my work. I received a wonderful email from Anika at New Being Human. I've done a video with her. I'll include a link to that in the description box. But the email said, she's a Black-owned business owner in DC, and the email said, our work is our protest statement. And you guys have probably like seen me use this term on like other spaces right now, because it just like keeps circling around in my head and around in my head. I keep thinking about it. Our work is our protest statement. Our work is our protest statement. So you're either going to do the work or you're not. And work is a constant thing. It's a lifestyle choice. I know I keep saying that. Being pro-Black is a lifestyle choice, but it's true. You have to literally adjust your lifestyle. You have to constantly unlearn. You have to constantly check yourself. You have to constantly work. It's not a race or a competition or, again, a photo op, an opportunity to better your career and shit. Like, that's not what it's supposed to be about. I saw this other thing from the Nat Ministry, who I love them. They talk about, sort of the power of like rest. And it said like, people have this manic energy to like undo centuries of racism in like 2 weeks. They think they can skip steps. You cannot skip steps. You have to commit to Black liberation. So you can't skip steps. You have to commit. So just, do your work. Think of your work as your protest statements. And if something feels weird, gives you a weird feeling, go with that. Because it's a lot of people bullshitting out here right now. And again, we want infrastructural disruption. Like, we want, Black economic revolution. We want Black autonomous communities. We want community patrolling, And I just read an article the other day on the Washington Post about how fucking Minneapolis has organized community patrols, predominantly armed Black Americans, because the police, they're saying they want to defund and dismantle the police. And what did the community, and the community already was doing it, because the fucking police and the National Guard and shit are out here fighting the citizens. They're not protecting anyone from anything. They're fighting the citizens. Somebody's place got lit on fire. They called 911. 911 said no one can come for 2 hours. So they form, I think they said, what did they say they were calling themselves? I think the Minneapolis Freedom. I'm going to look it up and I'm going to tell you. Hold on. I got it. They call their group the Minnesota Freedom Riders, a reference to the civil rights activists who rode buses through the segregated South in 1961. On Tuesday, dozens of volunteers, mostly Black American, filtered into Sammy's Avenue Eatery, a sandwich and coffee cafe. They checked in with a woman holding a clipboard who gathered their contact information, asked how many were in their parties, and noted whether they were armed. Almost all of them said they were. Then each volunteer took a seat as the orientation began, led by Minneapolis NAACP President Leslie Redmond. Too often, when Black people are trying to do the right thing and fight, we are left defenseless. And America has shown us time and time again that they're not coming to our protection, she told the group. So we've got to protect ourselves. The project began the previous weekend, just days after Floyd's death, and has grown to 50 volunteers. They divide into groups of 3 that keep watch at key intersections while others go on patrol. Redmond said she spoke to Minneapolis Police Chief Medaria Arredondo about the project and also informed the National Guard. She wasn't asking them for permission, she insists. She just wanted to let them know. We are activating our community. That's what we want. We want community activation. We want autonomous Black communities. We want infrastructural disruption. We don't really want symbolic actions, and we don't want symbolic gestures. Black Americans are seeing that we're going to have to do it for ourselves. There's all types of legislature being introduced for all types of things, but we can't introduce legislature for Black American business owners specifically that have been hit by COVID. We can't introduce legislature for, even people are like, oh, reparations. They don't think we're ever going to get reparations. Oh, we're going to get motherfucking reparations. But even if it's not even to that extent, we can't even get introduction of a bill for Black Americans specifically that are being hit by COVID. We can't get that, right? We need something. We need some things to happen before we move on to it's all of us versus racism or these symbolic gestures. That's not what we want. So you can't skip steps. You have to commit. And those of you that are, those of you that have been on board, rocking with me, you know, y'all know who y'all are. Y'all know I'm not talking to y'all. Like, we here. We've been working. We're doing it. Those of you, that are new, this is, how I feel, and this is what I think it comes down to in the end. Are you committed for the long term? I also want to add that, the body of that email from Anika at Nubian Human, the body of the email got into how it's like a really weird space right now as a Black artist, as a Black creative, as a Black, and as somebody, as like people that have like specifically been trying to like work to like amplify Black voices and Black owned businesses and, autonomy and liberation and all these things, because it's like a lot of people that feel, a lot of like Black creatives, Black content creators, not just on YouTube, but like across the board, that feel like they're being like trotted out and like treated almost as like some type of like sacrificial lamb. Or I received an email. I'm gonna read you guys the email. So this is from Wendy and Jess, which they run a food blog, Food Heaven. This was actually where I got the recipe for this dish called shakshuka that I made over quarantine that I'm going to be doing a quarantine video for. I just haven't done it yet. But they sent out an email because I'm signed up for their newsletter. And it said, like, in the past few days, we've been hit up by countless publications, podcasts, and influencers asking us to be on their platforms to do a podcast interview, host an IG Live, or have a conversation on racism. Oftentimes, these requests come with a ridiculously tight turnaround, which feels really inconsiderate. We're not even going to get into how, like, these people probably haven't even, like, offered to pay them. They just, like, want, like, oh, like, I need a Black face, Plus, we've contributed to countless articles about inclusivity and social justice before it was trending. We've also done so many podcast episodes on these topics. In this week's episode, we go in on why we're frustrated and exhausted. It's also like a really weird space to be in where people are asking you to do like videos and content and write and about things that like you've been talking about like for years. It's weird. It's weird because you don't want to be like, I've already made 5 fucking videos on that. I said 6 years ago, like, support Black owned businesses. You don't want to be the person to say that, but at the same time, it does feel like weird. It feels like sort of frustrating because it's like, people aren't even able to like go look at like your older stuff to see what you've said about this previously. Like, again, they're trying to like trot you out like a sacrificial lamb, or like they're new to it, so they're treating you like you're new. Like, everybody has to like stop and like get motherfuckers up to speed. Like, no, you need to like catch up. It's a really weird space. I've also heard of like Black people being like put on the front of things without their consent. Like, oh, YouTube and Twitch being like, we're going to promote Black content creators, but they like don't even notify the person that they're putting them, on the front fucking page of Twitch, or they're putting them. This actually happened to me previously on YouTube, sort of the first go around when YouTube they have one up now, but they did one previously on, content creators, Black content creators that talk about like race and racism. And they had like put some of my clips in there. And like all of a sudden you're getting this like influx of people, like waves of people. My Baltimore Uprising video made it to the front page of Reddit before. And you're getting just like waves. You're getting like hit. Like every time you refresh, it's like, every 5 seconds, 30 new comments, 40 new comments, 50, 60, 70, 100 waves of people coming in, which is also people telling you how much you fucking suck and you need to fucking die, nigger, like all this shit. And like, like we are people, like we are real people, like this is not, again, like the time to be like trotting out, trying to trot out Black people to like be some type of sacrificial lamb. And I'm seeing a lot of that, and I know there's also a lot of people that are really concerned about, like, it's performative, it's not real, and it's not actually helpful, period. And it's actually, in some cases, harmful when you're, bombarding people, you're putting people on the front page of things without their consent, you don't want to pay them, all these things. It's actually harmful. You're actively harming Black people. And on the flip side of that, I'm also getting really tired of this, like, begging. Like, fucking people being like, I love shopping at Anthropologie and Zara's, and, you guys aren't doing this, that, and a third. It's, like, a weird fucking thing. Like, you shouldn't even be shopping at motherfucking Anthropologie and Zara's and shit because it's, like, so fucking bad for the planet. and like and then there's like it's racist. It's like all these various things like the root, like for me, and I feel like the root of the issue is like fucking black people need to like fucking take back our fucking money and take back our spending habits and like totally fucking disengage from like the whole racist white supremacist fucking system, which you guys have heard me say. Not fucking cry for white people to like do something for us. Like why are you shopping at fucking Anthropologie? Anthropologie is expensive as fuck, and so is fucking Zara, overpriced garbage. But, like, people being like, I love your stores. It's, like, so sad that every time I go in there, I get followed around. Like, damn, you've gone in there multiple times and gotten fucking followed around. Like, I'm pretty sure there's probably a black-owned alternative to fucking Anthropologie. And right now, people are compiling so many lists and sharing so much information and resources. Like, there's no reason to be doing all this crying, begging, whining, complaining. Like, think about it. There will be tons of links, information, and related videos in the description box. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.